This is Bookmarking 101. We're just going over some of the basics, and then I'm also going to show you some things about how to make bookmarking actually useful for you, because I feel like, I taught at Eve University, which is one of the largest and oldest teaching corps in the game, and I taught there for like a year, and the way that we taught bookmarks was all, here's how you do this, and here's how you do that, and this is what this means. And that's all fine and stuff. But, out here in Savnol, I don't actually think all that is super helpful. It's much more useful to say, okay, here's what you need to know to live in Savnol. Um, so, and stop your ships when you. So the first thing I want you to do is just hit L on your keyboard. By default, this should bring up your locations window. Now, do both of you have the Brave folders in your... Do you have your Brave folders up? Like, do you have them added to your... Okay. So, Brave keeps a couple of folders that are good to have. There's that one. That's probably the most important one, that one that I just dropped in Fleet there. That has like our Instadoc bookmarks, all that good stuff there. It's not like an overwhelming number of bookmarks, but it is useful bookmarks for docking up at structures and things like that. So that's an alliance-wide bookmark folder. But then you also are probably going to have a bookmark folder. If you've never done anything with bookmark folders, it's just going to be, you're going to have one that says personal locations. You're going to have shared locations. You're also going to see locations in K7D at the top. So that folder, locations in K7D, that's going to have all the bookmarks that you have access to and you have online. So if you make a personal bookmark in K7D right now, which we will do, we're going to make some bookmarks here in a minute. You'll be able to see those bookmarks in that folder. You'll also be able to see any bookmarks that are in that bookmark folder that I just shared with you, right? And if you don't know, you can have a maximum of 3 shared folders. If ever you have 3 shared folders and you want to add another one, you need to offline one of the folders that you have. So all you need to do is press L. That brings up your locations window. Right click on the folder that you don't need right away, right? Right click on that folder and then just select offline. Now be careful that you don't accidentally hit disconnect. You just want to offline, because if you disconnect, it's going to remove it from your list of folders that you have, and you want to be able to access that folder easily, presumably. If you don't need that folder ever again, you can disconnect, but generally speaking, you're going to want to offline it just so that you can find it again. And if you ever have a folder that is offline that you want to find, under the shared locations, you should see a drop-down menu that says offline folders, and your offline folders will show. I told you folks to stop your ships, and then I forget to stop my own ship, so I'm drifting off of.
I was about to say, where are you going?
It's all right. Any questions so far? I think hopefully most of this makes sense so far. Okay. Okay.
Warp drive active.
All right. You should be receiving a cold warp from me. Now you can make bookmarks pretty much anywhere. You can bookmark things that you see in space. You can bookmark. Random cans, random spots, all that good stuff. Now, the three primary ways we're concerned with when it comes to making bookmarks are, by default, if you hit Control B, that should bring up a little window that says New Location. You've got Label, which is just the name of the bookmark, and if you're just making it for yourself, it doesn't matter too much what you name it. I would still recommend that you try to give it a name that will clue you in about what it is, right? So, for example, we're right next to this planet. I think this is Planet 9. Yeah, Planet 9. So, if I were to give this a name, I would probably say P9 100 km. And then in the notes, if you have a bookmark that you want to leave detailed notes about, you can. Although I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually use the notes. And I don't know that anybody would know to look for the notes if you left them for somebody else, right? So unless you told them, like, hey, I left notes on this, like, pay attention to those. The folder is probably one of the most important things, because if you save it, if you're like me and you have a lot of bookmark folders, it is very easy to save it in the wrong folder and then be unsure why you can't find that bookmark later. Because if you save it in the wrong folder, somebody else might delete it because they don't know what it's for or why it's there. Also, pay attention to the expire. You can set it for never. Can you move bookmarks between folders? Absolutely. Yes. Definitely can. It's just drag and drop, like most everything in this game. Just drag and drop between folders. And you can copy bookmarks. Yes. Yes, you can. So for copying, it is, I want to say it's Shift. It's either Control Shift or Shift. Let me double check here. We're going to do a little science. All right. Okay, yep, it's just Shift. So if you hold down Shift when you drag a bookmark and drop it into another folder, you make a copy of it. You can make another folder if you want to. Um, I keep all my folders in my personal locations just organized under that one folder, and then I made subfolders under it. But yeah, you can make, I believe you can have up to 5 personal folders online. But yeah, you can make new folders and sort your personal folders accordingly. Now, do you both have the skyhook on your overview?
Yeah, I see it. It's not on my overview, but I see it.
Okay. I highly recommend you add it to your overview, um, because I imagine there's going to be a number of fights over skyhooks in the coming days. Um, so it's a good idea to be able to see them. Plus, if you ever decide to do PI, it's a good idea to be able to find the skyhook. um, but if you want, another way to save the bookmark would just be to right click, and if you scroll down, you I know that the right click option gives you a bunch of different things, but one of them is the same save location that brings up the new location, and you can title it however you want. Now, you can also save a bookmark while you are in warp. And the reason for doing this is because it creates what's called an aligned safe or a mid safe. And it's basically just a bookmark that's in between 2 points in space. Generally, like you'll make a mid safe or an aligned safe between 2 gates, or maybe 2 planets, or a planet and a gate. And this is a very quick and dirty way to make a safe. Now it's the least secure, least safe that you can make, right? But then I'm going to show you one more step that you can do to make an even safer safe, which is called an unaligned safe. So to start, what I want you to do is press Control B so you bring up your new location box. Don't do anything else yet. Make sure you have it in a folder that you don't care about, and set the expire to 3 hours or 2 days, whichever you prefer, but you don't want to have to try and remember to delete this bookmark later. And I'm going to warp us to a gate, and what I want you to do is, somewhere along the way, I want you to drop a bookmark. Somewhere between where we are right now and the gate, I want you to drop a bookmark, and then I want you to warp to your bookmark that you just made. Okay? So first I'm going to warp us to the gate. While we're in warp, drop a bookmark. Now, the bookmark isn't made until you hit submit. So don't wait until the last second to hit submit, because chances are you'll end up with a bookmark that's like 1,000, 2,000 kilometers off the gate, which, if that's what you want, that's fine. But most times when we're making these kinds of safes, we don't want it 2,000 kilometers off the gate. Take this warp.
Warp drive active.
Now's a good time to make a bookmark if you want. Okay. Once you land, go ahead and warp to your bookmark.
Warp drive active.
Good. So now you have a mid safe, just a random spot between two objects. But now the problem is it's pretty easy to find someone who's made a bookmark and is sitting in a spot in between two objects on your overview, whether that's planets, gates, structures, anything like that. Anytime that you make a bookmark in between two two of those kinds of objects, it's relatively easy to find someone who's sitting in a safe like that. So one way that we can make it safer is to make another bookmark pointed. We're going to make another bookmark by warping to another location. So for this one, go ahead and align your ships to the keep star. We're all gonna warp to the keep star, and I want you to make another bookmark as you warp to the keep star. Go ahead and do that now.
Warp drive active.
Good question. So yes, you can make a bookmark from your probe scanner window, and in fact, many people do. Especially like if you're trying to bookmark like a data or relic site that you've scanned down, right?
Okay, so you have to scan it. You can't just like right click in space somewhere if you wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you could do that for you could do that for if you're on. Oh, you're talking about the overview. So if you like random
No, the directional scanner.
D, no, not from the D scanner. No,
Okay.
but the probe scanner, yes. You can bookmark things that you see in your probe scanner window.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, not the directional scanner. More delicious. Go ahead and warp yourself because I can't squad warp everyone from their mid safes. Too far away from you to fleet warp everybody. And then while you're in warp, just drop another bookmark. Okay. So once you've done that, you're now going to have a bookmark that is not aligned with two points in space that other people can easily warp through. Obviously, you can throw out combat probes and scan someone down. But if it's just a mid safe, what some people will do is they'll just warp between those two objects and drop bookmarks until they land on top of you. Hopefully, you're not staying in the same place. But you know, where there's a will, there's a way. So that's why I always teach how to make a bookmark that's not aligned with anything. Now, speaking of bookmarking things from scanner windows, I'm going to take a little field trip here. Go ahead and set destos there. Okay, and then more delicious, if you want to join us on the Keep Star, you can warp to me. Oh, sorry, I hadn't hit enter. I said, here's the desto, but then I hadn't hit enter in fleet chat, so that's not super helpful. Okay. Alright, short little field trip. Cool. Alright. So now we've got everybody together. Oh, no, not HX. Okay. Open up your route planner.
Yeah.
And make sure that include jump gates in route is checked.
Okay, 3 jumps.
Yeah, because we're going to take an ANSI, or an Ansplex. Basically, just a player on Stargate.
Warp drive active.
Okay, good, it is still here. Okay, so, wormholes, although we live in Sovnal, wormholes are still an important part of how we do things. We use wormholes to get around. We use wormholes to explore. We use wormholes to engage fights with wormholers, and sometimes with nullsec folks who have structures in wormhole space. We also have spoopy newbies, right? Now, the thing I want to point out to you is that in order to find a wormhole, you're using your probe scanner window and you're scanning down a cosmic signature. So it goes from a little red X into a green icon that you can then warp to. Now, if you bookmark it from the probe scanner window, you can be as much as 15 kilometers away from the wormhole if you bookmark it from the probe scanner window. What you want to do is you want to warp to the wormhole so that you're on grid with it. You can see it, right? And you want to right click on the wormhole. It's got a cute little icon at the center of it. That's what you want to bookmark. Just right click, save a location, and then, you know, name it something that tells you something about this wormhole. Different groups are going to have different ways of, you know, how they want it bookmarked. A good things to include would be the first three letters of the signature ID. So like this one is LAJ, so that when we look at the probe scanner window, we know that this wormhole is still here because we can see LAJ in the probe scanner window. Other things to include might be so if you, on your HUD, right next to your capacitor, you have 7 little buttons, right? They're like blackish gray buttons, right? Depending on.
Yes, those.
Yeah, so one of them looks like kind kind of like a radar icon or like a
Yep.
sonar icon. If you click that, it's going to give you a couple different probe scanner options. You want the one that's the probe scanner, right?
Okay, yeah.
When you open that, it should bring up, I'm guessing, did it bring up like a big...
Yeah, okay, so it's the ID
Yep,
LAJ-51. Got it, okay.
exactly. So LAJ is the signature for this wormhole. So that's something to include in a bookmark. Other things that might be useful is, where does this wormhole go to, right? This one, it goes to LOSEC. So the person who bookmarked this for Brave, bookmarked it for, like they indicated where it goes. It goes to Marmea in Iridia. So, yay, I guess. I don't know who wants to go to Iridia. I don't think it's nice there this time of year, but whatever. Yeah, so it's a separate bookmark folder. That's probably why you can't see it. Another Brave folder for you. Now, if you're ever like, Amoni, I don't remember where those bookmark folders are. I accidentally disconnected, and now it's not in my folder list. Where can I find it? The Alliance chat in game has our bookmark folders linked in, or at least some of them, right? So if you're ever... Ooh, good question. I'll tell you in a minute here. So if you're ever trying to find our shared bookmarks, our Alliance bookmarks, the Alliance chat channel in game is going to have those bookmarks. To answer your question about what is the N944 on the wormhole mean, that's the wormhole ID number, and that actually tells us what kind of wormhole this is. So N944 is always going to be a very large wormhole or extra large wormhole that goes from nullsec to lowsec, right? And if we were to jump this wormhole, on the other side, we would see K162. If you think about it, like, wormholes are like doors, right? The N944 side is like the welcome mat, and on the other side, the K162, that's like I don't know, it's like a little sign saying "Have a wonderful day" or something, right? Think of it that way. Yeah. All right. One last thing I want to show you, and then we will, and then I'll just take some questions and we'll wrap up the class. One last thing I want to show you is if you open your probe scanner window, and you deploy your probes, your probes are going to be out, and it's going to, and that's all great and everything. What I want you to do is, I want you to get your probes as close together as possible. Now, if you don't know how to do that, you should see little arrows that allow you to to move the probes around. If you hit control, it'll let you bring those probes together. So it changes the way the arrows look, and that allows you to move the probes individually if you wanted to. But we don't want to move them individually. We just want to bring them all together. And we want to get all as close together as possible, right? So once you've got them all together, it should look like a little cluster. More delicious, same. I did this for so long and did not realize that you could do this. Okay. And then go ahead and just hit analyze. We're not actually scanning for something. We're just moving our probes out of the way for now. Okay, so now that our probes are out of the way, what we want to do now that we've got our probes as close as we can get them together, it should look like one big blue sphere with our, centered around the arrows that allow us to move it around. We want to do a couple things here. First, on your probe scanner window, you see how there's those different formations that you can click? We want to click center. We want to click the one that kind of looks like a cross. And if you hover over it, it says center current formation on your ship. So we want to do that to make sure that it's on top, so that when the next time we hit analyze, those probes are going to be all around us, right? The next thing we want to do is we want to change the probe size of our probe grid. So by default, I think most people, it just goes to 4 AU. We want to shrink it down to 0.25. And then we want to hit analyze. All right. Wow, incredible. We go. I've never had like 3 different people's probes all end up relatively right next to each other like that before doing this. All right. So, what did you just notice there? What did we just do? We just put probes on grid with us, and if we do some adjustments, right, we can get a whole grid of probes all around us on grid, and they might be 200, they might be 300 or 400 out, right? And now we have a whole grid of tacticals that we can make, because you can right click those probes and save them, and now you just have, like, this is the fast way to make a grid, right? So if you're on a wormhole, if you're on a gate, and you want tactical, you want pings around the gate or the bookmarks, do what we just did here. Now, if you want to really level up, right? One more thing that we can do. So when you've got it set up the way you want, when you've adjusted the probes and you've got it in a grid that you like, right? So it's, you've got a grid where the probes are like 200 or 400 out, or, something like that, and you've got a grid that you like. The thing that you can do here is you can actually save the layout, right? So, wow, I just had a brain fart about how you did it, but I got it. Sorry. So right next to the button that says center current formation on your ship, right next to that one, there's like the Trinity symbol, right? If you hover over that, it says save current formation. So you can, when you have a grid that you like, or you have a setup that you like, you can save that formation. And then anytime that you want to go back and set up a grid for yourself, you can then use that formation, set up the grid on, center the probes on yourself, set up that grid real fast, bookmark your probes, and now you've got a grid of tacks real fast, right? Yeah, so why would you want to make a bunch of bookmarks around like a gate or a wormhole or something like that? Well, generally speaking, there's a couple of reasons. One, it's for PvP. When I was in No Vacancies, which is a C5 wormhole PvP corp, you can, yeah, exactly. You can warp the whole fleet from one bookmark to the next bookmark, around like a gate or around a wormhole, right? And you have total control of the space because you can move your fleet around and they can't catch you. If they try to burn to you, you just warp to another bookmark. And it also means that if they're gonna burn around, right, trying to get away from you or something, you just warp to the next bookmark that's closest to them, and now you're on top of them. But you can also use it for safety. So you know how you don't want to warp to gates directly if you suspect there might be bubbles on the gate, right? If you set up a grid of tacticals beforehand, well, now you have a whole bunch of air spots that you can warp around the gate, just to make sure that you have a place to go that's close to the gate. You can check the gate without actually warping to the gate and getting caught in like a drag bubble or something. Yeah. So definitely play around um, with your probe settings. This is going to be recorded, so if you ever want to go back and like remind yourself what we did in the class, that recording will go up. And bonus, you'll get to see my overview and watch me do it, so you don't have to like try to like listen and follow along. You can actually watch me do it and then do it yourself again, right? Cool. All right. Let's head back and we'll call it a good class. Or, well, I don't know if it's a good class. It's up to you whether you think it was a good class.